Okay, so Daniel doesn't want to cooperate. Come on, man. Come in the shot, man. Come in the shot, man. Today we have task number 3, vulnerability searching. This is something really important and something that you will do in a position of an application security engineer, for instance. Often in hacking, you'll come across software that might be open to exploitation. For example, content management systems such as WordPress, Fuel CMS, Ghost, and so on are frequently used to make setting up a website easier, and many of these are vulnerable to various attacks. So where would we look if we wanted to exploit specific software? The answer to that question lies in websites such as, and here we have 3 examples, ExploitDB, NVD, and CVE Mitra. Let's go there. We have the exploit database. This is the biggest database if you want to exploit vulnerabilities. You have, for instance, filters for the type of the exploit, the platform that you want to exploit. For instance, we want to go Windows. We want denial of service, remote. We want a remote. Author port. What port? What port? So let's go for Windows. Let's go 21. And a tag, we have authentication bypass, credentials, buffer overflow, bug report, client side, code injection, command injection, console. I want console. Nothing for console, but for buffer overflow, for instance, we have 2 exploits. Like these, you can search a lot of other denial of service. Nothing. We'll clear the platform, but we'll choose for here cross-site request forgery. Right, and let's choose, for instance, this one, phpMyAdmin with a specific version. If we enter there, you can check out the, let's start from here. We have the ID, we have the CVE. Here we'll jump in a second. We have the author, the type, we have the exploit to be downloaded or view raw, the platform, the date that was discovered, and the vulnerable app. If we scroll down a bit here, we can see about this vulnerability. We can see what the author gives us, the information. Here you have the background, you have a description, the proof of concept, and so on, all the way to the solution, to or another reference. A pretty amazing documented exploit or payload. So this is exploit database. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Let's see what we have in here. Let's go, for instance, from 2024. These are the latest. There are 234,959 matches. So you have some vulnerabilities to go through. Let's see, from 8th of May today at 8:15 a.m. This CV was registered. We have the detail, the description. A vulnerability has been found in source codester prison management system version 1 and classified as problematic. This vulnerability affects a known count of the file. We have the following path to a PDF. The manipulation of the argument. Here we have the argument leads to cross-site scripting. The attack can be initiated remotely. The exploit has been discovered to the public and may be used. The identifier of this vulnerability is VDB 263488. And here we can read about the severity of this issue. We have scores also for this one. And here we have references to advisories, solutions, and tools. Here we can see more links where we can see solutions to this resolutions, solutions, or tools in order to mitigate this issue. Weakness enumeration. We have the specific ID of the weakness enumeration and also the name of it. We can read more to the common weaknesses enumeration website. So this one is linked with this CVE from NIST. From Mitra, we have the CVE. So under the common weaknesses and exposure website, so here we can see all the information about this SVE. The common weakness exposure website is almost like a a book, a dictionary of vulnerabilities, while the National Institute of Standards and Technologies is more like a repo. Right. NVD keeps tracks of SVEs, common vulnerabilities and exposure, whether or not there is an exploit publicly available. So it's a really good place to look if you're researching vulnerabilities in a specific piece of software. SVEs take form of SVE, the year created, the ID number, hint. It's going to be really useful in the questions. ExploitDB tends to be very useful for hackers as it often actually contains exploits that can be downloaded and used straightforward out of the box. It tends to be one of the first stops when you encounter software in a CTF or a pentest. If you're inclined towards the CLI on Linux, Kali comes pre-installed with a tool called SearchExploit, which allows you to search ExploitDB from your own machine. It is offline and works using a downloaded version of the database, meaning that you already have all the exploits already on your Kali Linux. Let's take an example. Say you're playing a CTF and we come across a website. Boom, welcome to Fuel CMS. We just have we have everything in here. Fuel CMS version 1.4. Well, this is quite obvious, Fuel CMS. Usually it won't be this obvious, but hey, we'll work with what we've got. We know the software, so let's search for it in ExploitDB. Fuel CMS 1.4. You can see it here. Remote code execution. We have remote code execution also from another author. And here again, the third one. Let's see. Note, I'm going to use the CLI tool in Kali as it tends to be quicker from a workflow perspective. However, you are welcome to use the website. I'm using the command line SearchExploit Fuel CMS to search for exploits. So the command line interface, we can see it here used by the root user SearchExploit and then Fuel CMS. Exploit titles found by SearchExploit. Basically, exploit database. Boom, there you go. There you go on your machine. If you prefer doing things in the website, your results. So here we can see it. We can see the same exploit that we saw from TryHackMe. There you go. Here you have everything. Here you have the code that is used, and you can download it and you can just try it out to see how your victim can be exploited with this payload, for instance. Success, we've got an exploit that we can now use against the website. Actually, using the exploit is out with the scope of this room, but you can see the process. If you click on the title, you'll be given a bit more of the explanation about the exploit. Here we can see same information that we see here. Pay particular attention to the SVE numbers. You'll need them for the questions. The format will be like so. The common vulnerability exposure, the year and the number. Note, common vulnerabilities and exposures numbers are assigned when the vulnerability are discovered, not when they are publicized. Bear in mind that if a vulnerability is discovered at the end of the year, or if the process of confirming and rectifying the vulnerability takes a long time, then the release date might be the year after the year in the SVE date. Bear this in mind when answering the following questions. Okay, answer the questions below. What is the SVE for the 2020 cross-site scripting vulnerability found in WPF? For 2020 cross-site scripting. Here we see it. Let's see. We have 10385, not a number. Okay, let's see. SVE. Okay, cool. There was a local privilege escalation vulnerability found in the Debian version of Apache Tomcat back in 2016. What is the SVE for this vulnerability? We'll say Apache Tomcat. Let's filter it by date. And we go to page number 4, Debian-based distribution, as you can see there. And here is Red Hat-based distribution, right? Different distributions we need for Debian. Okay. What is the very first SVE found in the VLC media? VLC media player. I use this one. Okay. Let's see. The very first one. The very first one is this one. If you wanted to exploit the 2020 buffer overflow in the sudo program, which SVE would you use? Buffer overflow. Sudo program. Buffer overflow. And here we say sudo. Sudo buffer overflow from 2020. Okay, we have two of them. Buffer overflow proof of concept on Linux. Okay, I'll go with this. Perfect.